Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to Gift of Healing TV. I'm Sara Jane, and I am delighted to be joined by my guest, Jean Voice Dart. Jean, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure and honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Jean is going to be sharing with us expressive arts in the flow and ready to go. But before we start on all of that, I'm going to share her bio with you. Jean Voice Dart, MS, CATP, is a best-selling author, expressive arts specialist, certified expressive arts therapy practitioner, certified coach, and credentialed teacher. She has experienced a lifetime of miraculous transformation with the creative arts, witnessing thousands of and assisting hundreds of clients with emotional and physical challenges such as generalized anxiety disorder, PTSD, TBI, coma, neuropathy, paraplegia, domestic or sexual violence and assault, autism, memory loss, chronic pain, aging, ADHD, speech disorders, stroke, hearing loss, blindness, depression, and more. People working with Jean learn to feel, reveal, and heal by identifying buried emotions and rediscovering abandoned or neglected pathways to healing. Jean assists others through private sessions, group sessions, workshops, and classes using tools to assess creative imagination, embrace positive power, transform lives, and discover joy. She lives near the ocean with her husband, Matt, and their dog, Pumpkin. Jean, thank you so much. Now, I know we've shared something about you here, but share a little of your story and how you come to do what you do and why you feel this is so important, why it's important to you.
Well, I was raised with the creative and expressive arts just everywhere. My mother was always whistling and singing while she was mopping the floor and making the meatloaf or whatever she was doing. And she would have us sit down at the table and play with crafts. My grandmother was, she painted china and she was a glass blower and she did craft making and made our dolls. They made our clothes. I was wearing all clothes. I mean, it was just a big part of my life. And so whenever there were any challenges, I always went back to the arts, including music and dance, movement, dramatic play. It was just really important in our home. We would sit around in the living room and in a circle and sing songs and play games. And, it was just a very important way of expressing. And like every family, we weren't perfect. We had our challenges. Sometimes my parents would argue, or just family stuff. And I had my own challenges. I was neurodivergent and had trouble walking, had fainting spells, like vestibular episodes. And so I knew it was different. I had some feelings about that, not being able to do a lot of physical things. And so I would sit at the piano for hours and play and make up my own songs. Or I would draw. I would love to sit and draw pictures instead of running around with the other kids around the neighborhood who were more active. And so as I grew, it just became very important to me to continue to do that and to help others. And that's how I became very interested first as a registered and licensed music therapist, working with people, and then on to become a credentialed teacher in the other arts, work with the visual arts and creative writing and dance and movement and theater and that. So that's how I got started. Yeah.
And music. How many of us don't enjoy listening to music? Music is so important. Sound is so important. It can really affect us, can't it, in so many different ways. Depending on what you're listening to, it can really affect your mood and how you're feeling, can't it?
Yes, yes. I know we have that in common. We share that love. Um, Not just, I mean, there's so many aspects of music. There's, like I've worked with people with helping them move with the music, where paraplegics, where they can't move, but they love the music and they're strumming the otter harp and then moving the arm, and getting the exercise, but they're not going to do the exercise without the music. They didn't want to do that. Physical therapist came in and, but then listening to music, the passive music, and sound healing. And I did that too. Worked with sound healing bowls and crystal bowls, and there's just so many ways. But also chanting, singing the sound as a prayer. Just so many ways. It's very powerful. And as you mentioned, I've even had people who are comatose move and awaken through the power of music. It just brings me to tears. Very powerful. And I'm sure you've had stories as well of the transformational power of all the arts, including music. Mm-hmm.
Because I work with sound, but the sound I tend to work with is toning, is the voice. And we've got now, I'm not sure how you say this. Obuma in Nigeria. I'm sorry, I'm not going to try to pronounce your surname, but thank you for joining us. And if you've got any questions, please ask.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah.
So they're here. But I work with the voice. I work with sound.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very simply put to me that our aches and pains, illnesses, ailments, stresses, strains are our vibration out of sync.
Yes.
And literally the vibration of the right sound can pull it back into sync.
Mm-hmm.
You've witnessed people experience the changes physically, emotionally, and mentally. So have I, from the use of the sound of the voice. But I think about it in our own lives. If you want to relax, you'll listen to one type of music.
Yeah.
If you wish to be energized, helping you do the housework or something, you'll listen to something else. But there's also that music that you don't enjoy that can grate on your nerves.
Mm-hmm.
So sound can hurt and sound can heal. It's just thinking about what you're listening to and what you're hoping to get from that.
Yes. Yes, that's very good. Yes, we can actively choose sounds, and we do that automatically. And even children, very, very young, my granddaughter, when she was only about a year old, maybe a little bit more than a year, she reacted to the music just instantly. She had her preferences, and and we can choose. I'm feeling in a funk. I want to put on some music, and all of a sudden we're feeling good. Um, but also we can use the music to, like, we in our family, we just recently had a suicide. Um, and we can have all kinds of emotions associated with suicide: anger, guilt and shame. Why didn't I do something more? We can have lots of feelings associated with that. We can take those feelings, and that's why I say feel, reveal, heal. You're not going to say, I don't want to feel that way. I'm going to put some music on and I'm going to go out with my friends and I'm going to have a good time. No, you're going to that doesn't work. Well, it might work for a while, but you end up feeling lousy again a little bit later. So as a therapist, what we do is we just feel it, just sit there Let yourself, let it come up. Let that feeling come up. Express it through the arts. You can close your eyes, scribble, whatever you want to do. You can chant like what you teach. Let that flow, but don't just focus on the positive little butterflies and things. Focus on that pain, whatever it is. Then bring the butterflies in. Then bring them in with all together, So we bring it in. We accept right here and now. We accept the pain. We feel it. Then we reveal what other memories are associated and similar to that. Maybe you had 5 years ago something happened that felt the same way. Reveal what is the situation, where is it, see it, and then bring the healing. That's what I mean by the butterflies. Bring the love in, bring it all in. And that's what really, really works, that process. And I think so many of us learn to stuff it and to just immediately turn on the TV, watch a horror film when we're feeling bad, or watch the opposite, watch a really lovey, happy thing. And then later we feel sad again, And so this is the approach of actually feeling it and bringing in the love with it and just sitting with it. And I help people go through that. Yeah.
Say hi to Charlene. Greetings from Charlene in Switzerland. And she says, I love music and working with sound, so powerful. But it isn't just about the music and sound. And obviously you've mentioned dance and moving, because when I'm sort of teaching sort of the higher levels of Reiki, I will bring in sort of some of the mantra songs, but I will, it's like, yes, you can be singing them, but let yourself move to them at the same time. Close your eyes. Don't worry about what other people are doing, what other people are thinking. But it's the same as working with the sound. If you're going to be toning, don't worry about what other people are doing. They're not thinking about you because they're probably worrying about what you're thinking about. Just allow yourself to participate fully in it. But art, too many of us with songs, with singing as a child, we make up our own songs. I know I did that, apparently. Not that I have memories of it. But art, but with too many things, if you don't get the encouragement when you're younger, things can fall aside.
Yes, that's a good point. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In a moment, someone might say, that doesn't look like a tree, or something when you're a young child. What is that? And you save these little things. They're little traumas, and you shut down. I'm not going to draw. I can't draw, And so I teach people the arts. I do the immersive arts. I do in one session, we might do 3 or 4 at the same time. As you said, it's more powerful when you bring in another art form. But with drawing, and all of the arts, I say, this is not about trying to go to Carnegie Hall or trying to be the best, artist with a gallery. This is not about perfecting your skills as a creative artist. It happens. Many of my people end up doing that. But this is about the journey. And we've heard that over and over in many different forms. But it is about the journey. And the best creative artists and performing artists know that too, that you have to be all in with your emotions and give that when you perform. But we're doing it for the therapeutic effects. But even the best musicians, they know you're all in and you tune into that and you express it, and it's gratefully received. So I teach people. I'm also a credentialed teacher of the arts, so I also help them be better performers because I'm super emotional and I know how to do that, and show them how to get that out, and they feel better. And we feel better as receivers to receive that. And I know you do that too. Yeah.
it's so important. Actually, one of the things that I've learned is praise myself, congratulate myself. Don't wait for other people to do it. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to come from others. If you've enjoyed it, that's the most important thing. It's the pleasure you get from doing it. I've done it 3 times now. I've spent 200 hours creating knitted blankets from triangles, and then sort of sewing a fleece on the back, and then crocheting around the outside. Now, this is for a double bed, so that's not exactly a little bit of crochet. It's also a little bit of knitting. But because I've done it all with the triangles rather than squares, I've done it with different colors. So, they're loved. And that's the most important thing. In fact, well, sort of, my mother's got 2 of them. So I've got one on my back.
I love to have one. Yeah.
but my sisters, Sarah, they're amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm not a great one for doing the things the way everybody else does. So I knitted these triangles, and I got the crochet hook to sew them together rather than a sewing needle. And that creates its own pattern between the triangles. So it's being creative in how you do things. If you're drawing, do you have to use the colors that everybody tells you you've got to use?
No.
You step into what's speaking to you. That's the most important thing.
That's what's so great about the creative and expressive arts. We have the freedom to do whatever we want, and just grab some things that nobody else does. Take something out of the kitchen and use it to stamp and make paint patterns, whatever, just have some fun. And that's what we did as children. And I know that you tell your clients, remember what you did when you were a child, just have fun, explore and do that. And I love that you brought up about patterns and working with patterns. Sometimes we're so traumatized. I work with grief and trauma that we're completely numb.
Yeah.
And we have no feelings. And I've asked them, how are you feeling? I don't feel anything, And so that's a really good place to begin, is working with patterns. And you see that painting behind me where I did, that's actually I took a photograph of the flower out in our yard. And that's on there, but the whole painting is dots, millions of dots. And when you're feeling completely overwhelmed, patterns or just dots can help you break through to start feeling. So sometimes we do these geometric designs, or sometimes we can cut out things from magazines and then start making designs off of it. And that's a good place to start. There's so many ways that you can break through and then look and then feel. Look what I did. And then you start feeling. So we don't always know what we're feeling, just to bring that up. Yeah.
Oh, you couldn't be talking to somebody better for that. The traumas of my childhood absolutely left me with don't love, don't get hurt. In fact, I'm not sure I could tell you what love is. I care deeply, but I don't trust that word love because of what happened as a child. And we're not going to go into that, but I totally get what you're saying about those people. People say, what do you want? Well, I don't want anything because I was always taught as a child, I wants don't get. And those things can become so deeply ingrained in people, sort of the being told off for doing things. If you're told off too many times for that, you shut yourself, as you said earlier, you shut yourself down.
Yes.
And it's finding something that can help you to open up. And be courageous and explore. We've talked about music, we've talked about art, but I work with energy. That's what the sound is. That's what the Reiki is. I work with energy. And that works in its own unique way. There are so many different things. Knitting, sewing, sort of, you could name hundreds of different things. And that artistry, working with wood, taking a clock to pieces and putting it back together. There's an art to being able to do that.
All of it. And edible art, working with food. I mean, even taking and making creations out of the food, or decorating a cake. Some people do that, but there's just so many. And we've got someone in our book coming out, and you're in part of that. She's a dress designer. She's a fashion designer. Certainly is art. She's making her own clothing line, and we've got people who are working with youth that are going through trauma, and helping them express themselves through acting, dramatic play. And it just starts out as dramatic role playing, and then they've created a play. And I think that's just so beautiful to work with that. But just so many different ways to express. And as you said, we can be wounded. And I have the mother load of trauma that I've lived through in many different levels. So that's what makes me compassionate to others, and also physical challenges and disabilities. So I do understand how that can make you shut down, as you said. Yeah.
And we do, don't we? Our experiences in life shape us and everything that everybody tells us about us. And when we're so young, we have no means of knowing that we can say, no, that's not us. That's not me. We take on board what families and teachers and everybody say about us.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we are actually our own unique being. And so to me, part of the creativity is, can we reconnect with that inner child? That child that he or she, when they were actually trying to be creative, that they were doing their paintings and their whatever, but poems come into it. And I mean, I channel a lot these days, and I'd say the poems that come through me rather than from me. But I say that, but is it a from me? Because that is an aspect of who I am. And there are many out there that I've connected with, and more people are writing poetry. It doesn't have to be rhyming.
Oh, no. Yeah. That's one of my favorite things to work with is, people say, I can't write. Oh my gosh, yes, you can. Oh my God. And just showing them to just throw out words, just throw them out. Okay. Feelings, words, just, and look what you did. There's a poem. Oh my gosh, it's so powerful. I'm a poet, they say. Yeah. Yeah, you can be a poet. And that's one of my favorite things. When I was, adolescence is tough, adolescence. When I was a teenager, so much was happening with my life, my family, going through change, and I had a lot of feelings. And in high school, I joined a creative writing class. And of course, all of us are going through stuff, lots of stuff. And here we are, here's the football player and the cheerleader and the class nerd and all different people all thrown together, and the shy person and the party animal stoner person. They're all together in the same room. And the teacher was just so wonderful and teaching us to write and embrace anything that we did. And she said, okay, pass your paper forward. And that was like terrifying, and it went around the room. Everyone must write something good about this writing, and you get it back and it would be all these comments and you just felt so good, and validated. And she taught us how to validate one another and say, hey, Joe, that was so cool. Your poem about bullying, that was just really great. And we were all doing that. She said, was anyone want to say anything about it? about this poem, and we learned how to receive and give and be ourselves. And that was when I learned who I was. And I learned, hey, this is me and I'm okay. And they like me. And I would just get more and more creative. And she would challenge us to be more creative. Hey, just do something crazy. Don't follow the strict poem, and I do all weird drawings with poems, words that created a picture, and we just really went for it. So thank you for bringing that up about being yourself and finding a safe place, finding a tribe. That was we all found our tribe. And we weren't the football player or the nerd or the cheerleader. We were artists, creative artists. And I learned about these people that I thought, I can't say hi to that person, and then we were saying, hey, hi Jean, hi Joe, and it was just such a transformation and so important at that time, at adolescence. And the same with music as well, joining the choir or joining dance. Yeah, it just brings people together.
100%. It doesn't matter the backgrounds or anything. When I was writing for your book, and there is a poem in there, and I was sort of out for a walk, and I love going for a walk, and I've got some local woodlands, so I'm being in nature, and we've got the most amazing garden as well, sort of with a pond and all the wildlife we get in it, etc. It's beautiful. But I can't remember what I was thinking about. And suddenly the two words, cacophony of sound. And it was just like, where did they come from? And it was just like, can I get this into the poem? And absolutely I can. But my middle sister said to me, because my younger sister's reaction was, oh, Sarah, I love that. And my middle sister, Sarah, it isn't not cacophony of sound, it was cacophony of colour. Sorry, it was cacophony of colour.
That's even better. That's even better.
And it was colour. But my middle sister's reaction was, but Sarah, isn't cacophony to do with sound?
Yes.
And I said, well, to be perfectly honest, isn't it just a whole mass of everything all chucked together? Sort of, in which case, colours. And isn't that what nature does?
Colour is sound.
Yeah. Nature doesn't look and think, oh, that colour doesn't go with that colour. It just puts it all together. Think of meadows of wild flowers.
That's what's fun, when you take a word that's supposed to be associated with something and you throw it in another sentence. And she taught us to do that, to just, confuse people and let them find, and even you don't even know what it is. Just throw words together that you're not even sure what they mean together. And then you go deeper and you go, hey, that does mean something subconsciously. That kind of works. It's fun. Yeah.
And so it's finding the fun within what you're doing. So it doesn't really matter what you're doing. It's finding the fun, the pleasure, the joy, the laughter. Because if we can't have laughter, we're here to laugh. We're here to have fun. And for me, I think about it as freeing that child who'd been squashed down and by everybody's comments, and sadly negative comments about them. And so for me, it is really allowing ourselves to connect. I've never been a great artist, but actually I've got some adult colouring books and I do enjoy doing that. In fact, I bought a new one only on Monday, and it's the Flower Fairies. Now, I don't know whether you've heard of those, Sicily something or other. And I certainly know they're books that are here in the UK. I don't know whether they've got to the States. And it's a book, and it's got the images, but there are no colours because it's for you to colour in the Flower Fairies.
That's a good place to start. Yeah. And then get more free and be yourself and make your own thing without trying to. I find people, when they start to draw or do any kind of art, they are trying to make it look like something. And I say, don't try to make it look like something. Just close your eyes, okay? And when they open their eyes, they're like, this is really cool. It looks better without my eyes. Trying to fix it and trying to make it, this lyrics. So yeah, that's a good place to start, where you're using adult coloring books, and that if you're blocked, you're doing that and you feel good. Oh, look, I created the color. That's a good place to start. And then just let yourself be free of that and say, I can create my own world, you know, my own shapes that aren't fitting in a box of triangles and this and that. I can create my own weird shapes and colors and designs and whatever. Yeah. And combining that with movement or another art, another or sound while you're doing it, chanting. Um, uh, Chanting while you're coloring or listening to music or moving while you're chanting words or writing poetry. Just the combination is super powerful. Yeah. And one thing I want to say before we stop is you've been bringing back about the importance of a moment in childhood and trauma. But also, there might be some people here that are experiencing joy and feeling good and have gone through those healings. And I can honestly say I'm experiencing joy most all the time, even though I'm living in chronic pain in this. But that's even more important to express through the arts, joyfully express and celebrate yourself. And you'd mentioned that having a joyful experience. Otherwise, the joy gets bottled up. I know that sounds kind of crazy, like it's bad to have joys, but you have to give. And the most wonderful thing about the arts is that when you use any of the arts, you have a gift to give. So when we experience joy, we can't just sit with it in our home and do nothing and never connect with people and be isolated like we were during the pandemic. We want to give. And you can make a little thing and say, here, I made this for you. Bake a pie and put a little flour on top and, I made this for you. And then you have that opportunity to give, whether it's your poems that you write, which are wonderful, and say, oh, I wrote a little poem for you. I made a little bookmark. I pressed some flowers and made a little this for you. And that's so important, that giving joy and love, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Being true to yourself. That's the most important thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what other people think or say. Don't be afraid of what other people think or say. That's their stuff. Be true to yourself. When I'm ironing, I've got a mantra CD, and I love putting that on and singing to that while I'm doing the ironing. Sort of that with some things, as you say, I've got a CD that I use for going to sleep every night. I have music playing to go to sleep every night, but I have a separate CD for when I'm giving myself a Reiki session, because I know I've got to wake up at the end of that one. And the CDs I use with clients, a beautiful lady called Marina Ray, the Native American flute and nature sounds. So I use those within my work. I have a CD that I actually play here. If there's nothing on television, and I keep it light on television, there's nothing on television, it's just like, I'm going to put my CD on. It's the one before I go to bed, not the one as I'm going to bed. It's bringing that energy, that whatever that is that speaks to you, into your life, into your awareness, and not being worried about what other people think or say. I think that's our biggest problem, isn't it? It's the worry of what others think and say, when it doesn't matter. If it gives us joy, if it brings us pleasure, it's bringing us freedom to be true to ourselves.
Yeah. And even a step beyond that, I think when you talk about joy and pleasure, yeah, that's really important. Tuning in, what brings me joy? Maybe we forgot, or maybe we've been so busy with work and we think that's what brings us joy. We have goals and we're trying to reach them, or we're moving forward, but there's a playfulness or something that we've forgotten. What really makes me laugh or what makes me happy? And then when we get to talking about this, I cannot help but talk about, because it's such a segue, joy, the divine, the high state of consciousness, God, whatever you want to call it, that ultimate joy, that all of the creative arts and expressive arts easily help us lift to that place. And sometimes we've gotten separated from that, and we can open our hearts through the arts and find our way back to that connection to the divine. Yeah.
And it is about that. I mean, I'm reading Conversations with God, and there was just a short piece in there about the sense of humor. And it was just like, well, where do you think the sense of humor came from?
Yeah.
Because we're meant to have a sense of humor. I know it can be very distorted at times, but we are meant to have a sense of
Yeah.
humor. It's okay to have a sense of humor. It's not okay to hurt people through it, but it's okay to have a sense of humor. Where do you think your creativity comes from? Where do you think all of this comes from? It comes from source. It is an important, I tend to use the word source. It is such an important aspect of who we are. When are we happiest? For the majority of people, it's when we are being creative, when we
Yeah.
are allowing that energy of flow.
It's amazing because you create something, you feel empowered. I created something. Yeah. Yes, very much so. And just to honor, this is not to say that you need to be fixed and you need to be feeling joy, and to honor that it's okay to feel lousy and feel pain. It's appropriate if you're going through something traumatic, if you're being abused, if you're experiencing physical pain. But the way to find joy is to love it. And some people might say, how can I love this awful, horrific thing that's happened, or this awful pain? It's to feel it and ask for the lesson and blessing in it. What can I receive from this? And there is something. And to love that and move forward through it.
I really couldn't agree more. I look at the traumas of my life. I look at everything that's happened in my life. And if you said to me, what would you change? Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing, speaking to amazing people like you, if I changed even the tiniest little thing, because it would have sent me off in a totally different direction.
Yes.
I'm happy now with who I am, what I do, the energies around me. And if the energies feel wrong, I'll change it. I have
Yeah.
that courage to do that. So it's supporting people to start saying yes to themselves, finding the gifts within them that speak to them. And I absolutely, we go through stuff. It can be pretty horrendous. 6 months of pain and 6 nights because of a broken jaw. That was not fun. But I look at that as being the wake up. That's what supported me to then take my life back
Mm-hmm.
and move forward. So that there was a creativity almost in that, of which, like, oh wow, I actually can do this. It was so freeing.
Mm-hmm.
And we allow ourselves to splash that paint, splash that color.
Yeah.
It's a freedom. And creativity is freedom. Freedom is creativity to me.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I'm here to say I've been through that. I've been through assault, trauma, physical. I was told I was going to die 30 years ago, couldn't walk. And the doctor held my hands and said, you got to face it. You got to face it. I'm still here. Been through so much homelessness, lived in a shelter, domestic violence, abuse. I've been through all that, and yet I'm here to say you can find joy, and not to say just deny it and say, "Oh, I'm fine." Not that. No, not that. There's a journey, and if you need someone to walk through that with you, I'm here. Yeah.
And we've touched on so much, and
Uh,
it's creativity is so expansive. Sort of what speaks to you, woodwork, metalwork. It does, working as a mechanic on bikes and cars and whatever. It doesn't matter if that's an energy that speaks to you, then that's your creativity. So we've touched on so much here. But is there anything we haven't touched on that you would like to share with folks before we draw to a close?
Oh, you just wanted to mention that you're participating in a book, and I just want to thank and acknowledge. I think some of our writers in the book are watching, and it's coming out in August, and you'll find out more about it. And it's just representing all the different arts, and each person shares their story, their journey. And oh my gosh, I've been reading some of them. I've been reading all of them, and it's just so beautiful to read their journey. And Sarah's journey is in there. And then they share a free tool for you to use at home to help you. So this is just this wonderful opportunity to look at all the different arts, the people in it, the 20-some people in it, and learn from that. So coming up, it's called Expressive Arts, the Ultimate Creative Guide to Transforming Stress. And stress is everything. So thank you.
The stress, when you think about the traumas that people go through, the stresses. So absolutely. I've still got to send you my chapter. Yes. I've sent it in, but I've got to do that. Yes. After our conversation yesterday, I apologize.
You want to just mention quickly what your little tip is, not in detail, but you're sharing your gift with the reader.
I think to a certain degree, I've sort of, it's connection to the inner child, because that's what I help people to do. And I think it's helping our child to feel listened to feel heard, but to play.
Through the art, through the creative play.
Helping people. What would your child like?
Yes.
What would your child like to do? Go and do it and invite them to be with you in the doing of that. And I'm sharing a link to a meditation, which is playing the inner child. So it's connecting with your child to play. There's a meditation to that. But I've also got a meditation that I'm sharing, it was a gift I was given. It was one I didn't even know I was channeling it. It was coming in, and it's about the rainbow in life. So it's about bringing color into life. And I think color through the chakras, which of course are the rainbow. Colors of the chakras are the colors of the rainbow. And I've also done a little video, and it's specifically for the book in light language. I have no idea what I say when I do that.
I do that too. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, look at the huge gifts that you're giving, and each person is giving, just like Sarah. You'll end up with multiple gifts and free opportunities. Yeah. Thank you for telling us what you're giving. That's huge. And I thank you for being in the book, and thank everybody else too.
And thank you so much for being here and sharing with us. Now, I have just put Jean's website address into the chat. I will, if you're watching this on YouTube, it's under the video in the information below. Please go and check that out. So if anything here has spoken to you and you want to learn more about Jean and her work, www.jeanvoicedart.com. No hyphens, no dots, no spaces other than the .com. do check out Jean's work, what she's doing. If you feel drawn to connect with her, please do do that. We don't go into sales pitches, but I do encourage people to connect with my guests if it resonates with them. Jean, thank you so very much.
You.
It's an absolute pleasure. And very briefly, next week I am being joined. It's going to be my morning because my guest is in Australia. And Kevin Davidson is joining me. Lost souls and releasing them.
Oh.
So, we go for wide diversity of what we share on these programs. So, Jean, thank you so much for joining us, folks.
Thank
I hope you
you.
enjoy this again.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
And I'll see you again soon.
Okay, I'll see you. Yeah. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Namaste, souls. Bye.